Assalamu alaikum, student. Today uh, we discuss about the chapter 5, food, nutrition and digestion. In this chapter, there is a two part. One is plant nutrition, other one is animal nutrition. Like all the organism, plant have to require food and nutrition. Why they need food and nutrition? We see here first plant normal for plant normal growth they require food and nutrition. Which type of growth? There is a two type of growth. One is primary growth, that's and other one is secondary growth. Okay, the monocot plant, they are goes to growth upward, that is called the primary growth, and dicot has grow their wideness, and that is called secondary growth. So plant growth purpose, they require minerals. Second one, physical activities, and there is a various kind of physical activities that participation in plant, such as photosynthesis, respiration, transpiration, upwelling of cell sap, and transport of food substance. For all the physiological activities, plant require nutrition. Plant goes to reproduction like the sexual and asexual reproduction. Higher plants goes to sexual and asexual both type of, like the some vegetative reproduction that occurs, and the lower plants they goes to asexual reproduction like the budding or sporing on such on. These kind of reproduction they require nutrition. Also prevention of deficiency of related disease. Yes, not only the animal have disease, plant has some disease, and there's are necrosis, the dieback region formation, and also the chlorosis. These are the disease of uh, uh, plant, and for these disease, for the prevention of this disease, they require nutrition. Now we see what is plant nutrition. The elements, yes, which are absorbed by the plant from soil. First one, soil. Second one, air and water. Second one, air. And third one is water, and required for the growth. Yes, we mentioned in below the growth, physiological activities and reproduction. Yes, these three is mentioned the below is called plant mineral nutrients. So plant some have to have some mineral nutrients, and they consume it from soil, air, and water. Terrestrial plants, they absorb by the root and the aperture of leaf, and that is called the stomata. And aquatic plant absorb the whole surface area. Okay, aquatic plants absorb the minerals from by the whole surface area of aquatic plant. Okay, so here we mention the plant mineral nutrition. Okay, so they have three sources, and now we watch how many sources we see in plant. Now here we see here there is a three source. First one is the soil, second one air or atmosphere, third one is water. Okay, and here we see uh, the water absorbed by plant root. The soil have various kind of minerals, that's also absorbed by root, but only the carbon dioxide and oxygen is for photosynthesis and respiration. They intake by the leaf aperture, that is called stomata. Okay, so there is a three source, and these three source, only the air get carbon and oxygen. Here we mention that you see this one, the carbon and the oxygen, it's uh, is gained from the air, and the oxygen and hydrogen, that is get from water, because water has hydrogen and oxygen. Okay, but the rest minerals from the soil. Okay, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, potassium, calcium, magnesium are all of are uh, consumed from soil. Okay, now we see how many types of mineral nutrients. Okay, in scientists are identified 60 mineral nutrients are required for plant. How many? 60. But essential is 16. Okay. Again, I say scientists identified there is a 60 mineral nutrients is required for plant, but plant have take adequate number in 16, and that is called essential. Of them, the consumed by large quantities, that is called large quantities, that is called macro. Macro means not large. Macro in here it's mean macro means large quantities, and so that's why macro elements is that's elements that's plant consumed by large quantities, and these are the 10 macronutrients. These are magnesium, potassium, calcium, iron, nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, and sulfur. Here we see if we memorize these things, then we have to have follow a formula. That formula is a MGK cafe for nice chops. There is a various kind of cafe in Bangladesh, like the BFC, KFC, and specialize some dishes in a special cafe. Each cafe has a special dish. So then we see the MGK cafe have the specialty for chops. Okay, so MGK cafe for nice chops. These are the macronutrients that's we have to memorize for memorization for the macronutrients. We have followed this line. Okay, Mg means magnesium. First one, Mg means magnesium. Yes, this one is magnesium. K means calcium or potassium. Ca means calcium. Fe means iron. Here it's iron. Fe means iron. For there is no meaning. For has no meaning. N stand for nice, but ICE has no meaning. Okay, and chops have every word have every uh, letter in this word. Every letter has identified every minerals, like the carbon. Then the H stand for hydrogen, O stand for chopser in chops, O stand for oxygen, uh, P stand for phosphorus, S stand for sulfur. Okay, so here we memorize the macronutrient by this process. So micronutrients, they are 6 in number. They consume by small quantities. That's why we see the this now name is micronutrients. These are 6 type: copper, chlorine, zinc, bromine, manganese, and molybdenum. So if we memorize it, then 2C, that means copper, chlorine, 2M, manganese, molybdenum, and zinc, boron, that's ZnB, ZnB. So if you easily memorize it, 2C, 2M, ZnB is for the
Mhm.
uh, micronutrients, for the micronutrients. Okay. Now, uh, now we goes to next slide, and that is the elements that's in mentioned in your book, especially by these two form, as one is role of elements in plant and deficiency symptom. Deficiency symptom. Okay. So first we here mention the nitrogen. Nitrogen is here. is a macronutrient. Okay, it's gained from soil, water. Water is a natural, but uh, chemical fertilizer like the urea is the artificial source of nitrogen. What is the main role uh, of nitrogen? Nitrogen is essential elements of nucleic acid, yes, nucleic acid, so nucleic acid, protein, and chlorophyll. It also plays a very important role in general growth of plant, yes, growth of plant, general growth of plant, and increase the amount of water in plant tissue, okay, increase the amount of water. So there have some role in nitrogen. The first one, deficiency symptom. Yes, this one is the first point. The formation of chlorophyll. Yes, it is the one of the part of chlorophyll. That's why inhibit if the deficiency of nitrogen. Okay. Second one, um, it's a growth and cell division. Growth and division of a cell is deemed is ultimately decreased to the growth of the plant is reduced. It's totally cell division and growth is also reduced for the deficiency of nitrogen. Now we see phosphorus. Phosphorus is a macronutrients. It's also we get from soil and water. Is the main source is triple super phosphate, TSP. TSP, it is artificial. TSP is artificial manure. That's we get, that's plant get nitrogen from it. Okay. Potassium is the important structural elements of DNA, RNA, and different phospholipid, NADP and ATP. It is essential for the elongation of root. Yes, especially root elongation occurs by the presence of uh, phosphorus. And the deficiency symptom here, uh, the leaves turn pale, purple, and necrotic area is developed here for the deficiency of phosphorus. Also, the flower and fruits may fall down for the deficiency of phosphorus, and plant become stand. Stands means dwarf, and growth being stopped by the deficiency of phosphorus. Now the potassium is the kalium, is also macronutrient, and if we get from the fertilizer, that is say about the fertilizer muriate of potash, muriate of muriate of potash, uh, MOP both. It's a muriate of potash, yes, and here the MOP fertilizer for the muriate of potash. MP, sorry, it's called MP fertilizer, muriate of potash. Potassium helps a plant absorb water, yes, especially absorb water, and it plays an important role for opening and closing of stomata. Okay. For the deficiency of potassium, we the leaves and blade of leaf, means the tip of and blade of leaf goes to uh, goes to goes to chlorosis by the deficiency of potassium. Growth of plant is uh, inhibit and here by the lack of potassium. Okay, now we goes to next slide. There the calcium, magnesium, iron, and sulfur. Okay, these are all our macronutrient we go get from soil and water, especially calcium. Here some deficiency symptom is mentioned in your book about the calcium. Young leaf phase chlorosis first. Yes, growing apical plants of the become dead. Yes, at the time flowering in plant stem uh, stands up, stand up, plant get wilt. Okay, plant goes to wilt by the lack of calcium. Magnesium, here magnesium is an important component of chlorophyll. Okay, chlorophyll molecule. These are the role, and so the absence because of chlorophyll is not uh, organized for the deficiency of uh, calcium, and green color gets the leaf. Rate of photosynthesis is also reduced, and chlorosis occurs especially by the lack of uh, magnesium. Iron, iron is the structural component of uh, cytochrome. Yes, cytochrome is one of the uh, biochemical substance, and that's is required for plant various physiological activities is cytochrome. So for the also it's is also participation in anaerobic respiration respiration, uh, 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 respiration. So deficiency of iron is the pale is the turn the chlorosis in the leaves at the vein, mid vein. Also sometimes whole leaf become pale. Okay, that goes to chlorosis, and the gets weak and short. Okay, sulfur is there is mention in your book for deficiency. Leaf uh, leaf become green. It's become for the lack of sulfur. We see chlorosis in the in leaf. Also, the young uh, uh, chlorosis happens in the young leaf, especially. Dieback also disease is seen uh, in the lack of sulfur. So here, these type of if type of table is need for your to comparative study of the whole mineral nutrients. Okay, for the comparative study of whole mineral nutrients, you have to have follow this type of table, and your homework to form you can take a screenshot uh, because you have a homework, and if in this homework you have mentioned the previous slide type part, all the minerals have been described by this table. There is a first the name of elements, then the types, then the source, then role of elements in plants, and deficiency symptom. This one is your homework. Uh, um, uh, that will be you have. I give you Google Classroom uh, uh, passcode, and that's code by this code you will submit your homework and Google in Google Classroom. Okay, and now we goes to next slide. Manganese, copper, zinc, boron, molybdenum, and chlorine. These are all micronutrients. Okay, manganese is found from soil. Manganese is needed to construct and maintain the chloroplast. Okay, so manganese is needed for construction and maintain the chloroplast. Okay, copper copper is needed to normal growth. Yes, normal growth of potato. Yes, sunflower plants, and it plays important role in respiration process. Okay, now the zinc, yes, especially zinc is needed for also the coronavirus, because if you have developed your immune system, zinc is necessary for human for immunized the total body system. So zinc is also needed in plant. Here zinc is necessary things for the synthesis of amino acid. Okay, synthesis of amino acid. It is required little for the general metabolic activities of plant. Okay, boron is required for the activities of growing region of the plant, activities of growing region of the plant, and it also plays a role in is production of sugar in sugarcane. Okay, so now we see of the deficiency of boron, there is a necrosis, meristematic tissue is happen. Necrosis area is growth of young leaves inhibit, yes, and the leaves turn purple shape and brittle, having their surface rupture, okay, by the lack of boron. Now the molybdenum. Molybdenum is essential for the fixation of nitrogen by microorganism, okay, and chlorine is needed for soil and water for the growth of the root and stem to sugar beet stem and root development is required chlorine. Okay, so this is the mention the whole elements that's mentioned in your book by a table. Is a tabular form. You have to a total uh, brief description on comparative it from each other, and also at a glance it's a give a at a glance presentation of the whole mineral nutrients. Okay, so this one is your homework to from 1 to 13. There is a 13 mineral nutrients is mentioned in your book, and their type, their source. There is a 3 source, especially artificial, and rest are the natural source of them. Urea, that's get the nitrogen from urea, and the TSP, triple superphosphate. The phosphorus is from TSP, and muriate of potash. By this fertilizer, plant get potassium. So there is a 3, and now you have to mention the whole role in plants, role of elements in plant. Yes, fourth one. Fourth heading and final heading is deficiency symptom, as mentioned the last table. Okay, so there is a 5 table, and this one is your homework to complete this, and I will give you a uh, Google Classroom code, and by this code you have to submit the whole things in Google Classroom. Okay, now we goes to next slide, and that is the deficiency symptom. I mean, this one is the last slide. Yes, this one. Here we see deficiency symptom. Here the leaf is goes to first picture. Here you see there is a yellow part is seen between the 2 vein. That's why it's called chlorosis. Chlorosis, CHLOROSIS, chlorosis. Okay, chlorosis. This one is called chlorosis. Okay, and the dead dieback part is called necrosis. Okay, dieback part is called necrosis occurs. So if someone is ill, if a human is ill, then it is we observe it by the showing is showing her or him face, because the face indicate the physical condition. Like that, the also plant leaf uh, uh, is identified, leaves are indicate the condition of plant. Okay, if the leaf have yellowish, then we see chlorosis. If the if the leaf are go to color purple or brown, then dead area is seen. That is called dieback part, and necrosis form there. So in your previous portion, we have seen some common things and some uncommon things, and it is especially this slide is usable, is very much important for your MCQ question. And for your MCQ question, you have to find out this one. Sometimes there is a uh, some MCQ, there is a 2 answer or 3 answer, and that is help to you to follow this slide. First, the chlorosis. Chlorosis occurs the nitrogen, iron, manganese, copper, magnesium, potassium, and sulfur. Chlorosis occurs deeply and rapidly in the middle uh, place of vein, that is for the magnesium. Okay, the middle place of vein. Okay, so this one is the middle place of vein. Okay, so if there is a middle place of vein, then it is uh, for the magnesium. Absorption of water for the potassium, balance of water for the sulfur. Opening and closing of stomata for the potassium, and the develop of growth of root. Yes, that is phosphorus, and flower and fruits develop for the potassium. Okay. Then control the growth of plant through cell division is nitrogen and potassium. Growth of plant through cell division. Uh, the tip and the blade of leaf turn yellow. Yes, the tip is this one, and the blade, this one, is turn yellow for the potassium. Necrotic spot are developed for the KPB. That means potassium, phosphorus, and boron. Apical and interlateral buds are die for the potassium, and apical part of plant die for the calcium. Okay, intervenal chlorosis is happened by the potassium. Structural component of DNA, RNA, and protein is nitrogen. DNA, RNA, and protein is nitrogen. Nucleic acid, DNA, RNA, and ATP is phosphorus, and uh, protein and hormones is for sulfur. Okay, protein and hormones for sulfur. Okay, now leaves turn pale for the absence of phosphorus. Shading of leaves and flower and fruits for the phosphorus. Plant become stunt, phosphorus and sulfur. Okay, and uh, young leaf first turn chlorosis is iron, sulfur, boron, and calcium. Stem gets weak and short is for iron, and aerobic respiration for iron. uh, Important role in respiration process for copper and magnesium. Essential compost of chlorophyll is for magnesium. Transportation of sugar is for boron. Given strength of cell being inside the cell wall is for boron. Regulates the various reaction in the metabolism process is for also boron. The growth of young leaves is inhibit for boron. The stem become here, the stem become brittle and rupture for the boron. The inhibit of floral bud obstruction is boron. Fix of nitrogen by microorganism, molybdenum. Necessary for the growth of root and stem of sugar beet is for chlorine. Chlorine is important. These two is mostly mentionable, but fixation of nitrogen by microorganism is molybdenum, and the necessity of growth of root and stem of sugar beet is for chlorine. And general chlorosis, reddish and purple spot appears in for the sulfur. Tip of the stem die for the sulfur. Internode stem become short for the sulfur, and systole of cytosol of the cell is related to the functioning of mitochondria and endoplasmic reticulum for the calcium. Oxidation phosphorus in mitochondria is hampered for the calcium. Protein trafficking, protein trafficking process endoplasmic reticulum is happened by the calcium. At the time of flowering, plants stem dry up and the plant with that is for the calcium. So we have mentioned all the things that we in the that's the table we see in here, because these are sorting out why for the MCQ purpose. Okay, now we have finished our lecture, today's lecture, and now the question answer part. If you have any question answer, I will answer it. Okay, do you have any question? Hello, I unmute you, all of them. Do you have any question?
Sir, will you please explain necrosis again?
Necrosis means that's the diarrhea formation. This here in this picture, you see, in the below here, uh, in the side below part, there the dead area is seen here. Firstly, it is appears in here. The brown color part is goes to then uh, darker, and at last is are totally
Where?
uh, turned into black, and that is uh, that is, that is called necrotic area or dieback area. Okay, again, if if other someone have any question. Then